Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, Word Association Wednesday. The ham, the how, the high. Next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to see you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your first listen every day on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. He's the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Happy Hump Day to all who celebrate, and doing something with a little bit different twist here today on Locked On Texas Tech. It is Word Association Wednesday. I'm not selling any monster truck tickets, but I'm going to kick a few things out, and then Chris and I will toss them around with a little word association. Feel free to play along there in the YouTube comments. Always appreciate your interaction there each episode. And Chris, we're going to kick it off here with a little bit of a curveball. This has obviously got a double T relation, but not something we've really touched on so far on this episode. As a matter of fact, this may be the inaugural mention of the great, the legendary, the iconic, the enemy of all backboards, Darvin Ham. Great to be with you, Chris, but what is on your mind when you think about the great Darvin Ham?
I think my first thought here, as we kind of discuss, and we got to kind of nail it down to a word. I'll be really boring to start this exercise out, and I'll say coach. And here's why. He is the coach of the Lakers. However, when I first heard that he was going to be the head coach of the Lakers, I thought, one, I'm not a big Laker fan. That has nothing to do with it. Two, he is somebody that has waited his turn to be a head coach, okay? He's been, won championships with the Bucks, one as a player with the Pistons, and he's just he's been in the mix on various jobs. And I'm like, that's a difficult, and it still is. However, he's one game away from the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
I think that when I first heard about this, I was like, this is a no-win situation for him, because if they do poorly, guess who's going to get blamed for it? If they do well, you think he's getting any credit, or you think LeBron's getting all the credit? But I think he's weathered some storms here and kind of got these guys, figuring things out, and they're about to oust the Warriors and advance to the Western Conference Finals, in my opinion, and against the Nuggets or the Suns. And I just think he does deserve a lot of credit, because tremendous amount of spotlight on him, the Russell Westbrook stuff that they dealt with all year, but coach Darvin Ham, very impressive. And it makes you wonder, man, he was the other finalist for the old Red Raiders job, what 2 years ago? I guess it was. 2 years ago this April. I mean, him and Mark Adams. Makes you wonder how things would have been differently had they made a different decision at the time. But I would say that as we sit here and talk right now things could change in a week. But right now, Darvin doing pretty well out there in L.A.
Yeah, being at the steering wheel of the Los Angeles Lakers or the Dallas Cowboys, New York Yankees, these are unique positions unto themselves. But at the wheel with LeBron James there is on another level, Chris, because that car is like a driver's ed car. LeBron's got his own steering wheel, his own, brake pedal on the other side as well. We know how those relationships have worked over the years. Shout out to Eric Spoelstra and Mike Brown and all the guys he's made so much money as head coaches over the years. But excited to see him have success. I hate the Lakers. I don't ever wish for them to win a game.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how I feel about this, but I'm glad to see Darvin Ham having success. And you segued almost into my word association with Darvin Ham. Now, this word is followed by a question mark, okay? So I'm going to have to give the right inflection. But my reaction when I think Darvin Ham is, whoops, because I don't know if there was a mistake made when you go one way and it's not the way that leads to Darvin Ham being your head coach at Texas Tech. The question mark is more so, Chris, I guess based in the thought of, was it ever even a real possibility? Like, would he have did he want this job? You know, if he's a finalist, I guess maybe that tells you something about Texas Tech's perspective on Darvin Ham, but would this be a job that he would have even taken at the time? I don't really know. Maybe you can shed some light on that, but I do wonder, like I think a lot of Tech fans, did we make a whoops and going the other way at that time? Was it really a feasible relationship that could have come together under different, I guess, circumstances?
Yeah, you know, Darvin interviewed for it. I've known Darvin for a long time, and he's a phenomenal guy. Just great personality, you know, originally from Flint, Michigan, and then came here, and we knew about the team he played on in the mid-'90s under James Dickey. But we used to have him on the show I was doing all the time, and he'd be like, when he was a player, he did some Maverick stuff. He was an assistant with, but he's always. I think this is a college job. This is the only one he would have entertained, and he did entertain it. And I think that, but he's always had his eye on being an NBA head coach, which he's realized this dream. That is a short time frame, though, that you get to keep those jobs typically. I think I think maybe wants to get into the front office type stuff eventually at the professional level. He was coaching. I think a semi-pro team in New Mexico at Albuquerque years and years ago. So he's just kind of been on this career path, but he's always come back to Tech and all those things. The reason he wasn't hired, though, and he did interview for it, he was one of the two finalists. Absolutely. I mean, so it was Mark Adams chosen over Darvin Ham. The reason that they made the choice at the time was Darvin, and it's kind of like the whole NFL and college football like conversation that you have. Who is he going to surround himself with, coaching wise? And then he doesn't know from a recruiting standpoint. He doesn't know players at this level, or you know, there was a huge kind of question mark as it relates to that part, and so they decided to go with Mark, who they felt like had a better feel for the college game and surrounding himself with coaches and all those things. You know, so that's why that choice was made at the time. And, you know,
but it could have happened.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you know who's on the committee.
Yeah.
No, you know who's on the committee was Tony Battie. And Tony Battie, obviously, I'm sure you can guess as to kind of what his opinion would have been. Not that his opinion carried more than the other. Those were former college teammates on those same teams in 95 and 96. And so, but I think everybody understood it. I don't think Darvin had any hard feelings about it at all. And like I said, it worked out. I mean, the guy's got, you know, NBA championships as a player and an assistant coach. I mean, pretty stellar NBA career, and then obviously had a long stint there under Mike Budenholzer there with the Bucks, and got to coach Giannis. I mean, the last time I actually talked to him on a radio show, he's like, man, I'm just sitting here trying to figure out how to guard. My team needs to guard Damian Lillard tonight. I'm like, a little bit different than my day was going. I mean, like, I don't know how you guard Damian Lillard, but that was his NBA world. So, but if the Lakers advance and if the Lakers move on, or if the Lakers win it all, I will give 1,000,000% of the credit to one man, and that man is the guy we're talking about now, Darvin Ham.
Austin Reeves. Oh. Darvin Ham. That's
Boomer
exactly my bad.
Yeah, that's right.
Darvin Ham. No, look, the choice was made, and it is what it has been. So what are you going to do about it? But happy to see Darvin Ham have success. And yeah, once you kind of get locked into, I guess my thought for Ham is a lot of potentially at that time as a Tech coach is a lot of what you just described. It really seemed like he was locked into that NBA ecosystem, if you will. Like he's a part of the NBA universe. I don't really look at him as a part of the college basketball universe. Not that they have to be exclusive to one another all the time, but man, had put in so much time within that NBA universe that you just kind of felt like, I don't know, is the college match going to be right for him? Because there was going to be a match for him. It wound up to be in Los Angeles with the Lakers, and they're having success right now. And I'm just trying to forget about what the uniform says and just remember that precious face of Darvin Ham. So that'll spur a Red Raider fan on I guess, through these trying times. Word association number 2 next on Locked On Texas Tech. But first, today's episode brought to you by Built Bar. And if you're looking for a delicious snack, but you don't want all the sugar, don't want all the calories, I got what you need, buddy. That's Built Bar or Built Puff. What makes them so good? For starters, covered in 100% real dark chocolate. Tastes so great, you're not going to think they're good for you. Unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, cookies and cream. Not sure how they do it, but they maintain amazing macros while tasting like a candy bar. What's even better, they're healthy. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't have to wait to get a box. You can always go to built.com to get your specialty flavors. But also right now, you can walk into your local Walmart or Sam's Club and pick up a 4-bar box if you're at Walmart, or if you hit Sam's Club, 13-bar box with hit flavors, brownie batter puff, or the churro puff. You can thank me later after you try your first Built Bar. Glad to have you along for the ride on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network with Chris. I'm Casey. It's Wednesday. We're associating words with subjects. Now, this number we're going to get to coming up next. We spent some time talking about generally a couple of days ago, across the Big 12 conference, and it relates to win totals. But 7.5 is what we have most recently seen listed there for the Red Raiders, Chris, and was curious to get some more thoughts specifically as it related to that. That's 7.5 from you for Texas Tech.
So my word here the first thing I thought of is when I saw this win total, because I'm looking at it all. I don't know if you just said, what is your guess going to be? I maybe would have said 8, and maybe that was a bit of it. So I guess I would have been close. 7.5. When I saw it, I was like, okay, they kind of went a little bit, I guess, slightly lower. But it's the third best win total in the Big 12, because I think you're tied with somebody else there. But then I think Oklahoma and Texas are at 9.5. But the reason why, or the first thing I thought of, honestly, and the word that I will attach to it, is schedule. This isn't a win total from Vegas, isn't about a conference championship. It's not about getting to a bowl game. They don't care. They just look at your 13 games and try to figure out, okay, what's the sweet spot on creating equal money on how people will bet. And it's so the reason why it wasn't 8, or maybe the win total is a little bit lower. This schedule is not just the easiest one. I mean, you've got, your 2 non-conference games to start the season, I think, are both, one of them obviously is going to be nationally relevant, and I think going to be one of your tougher games in the season potentially. And then that very first one is just tricky. I mean, you could easily start the season out 1-1, and I don't think anybody would bat an eye or anything like that. The other thing, though, is the reason I say schedule is you miss Oklahoma State on your schedule. This would have been a good year to play them, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to be very good. The other team that you miss is Cincinnati. I also don't think they're going to be the worst team of the new 4. They got a new coach. Their team's a bit of a mess right now. I think they're going to – this isn't Luke Fickell's Cincinnati Bearcats from a couple of years ago. So the roster is a bit depleted. It needs some time. They won't be terrible, but I think that would have been an easier on paper. And you miss those 2 teams. By
the way, Chris, I was also excited about the chance to start a Tuberville Beef Bowl. Everybody that hates Tommy Tuberville gather in a stadium on a Saturday. We'll maybe get some other fans in there as well, but there's that connection between the Red Raiders and the Bearcats.
Yeah, I mean, so you look at it, and like one of your easiest games, and it's going to be tricky too, is like at West Virginia. West Virginia is going to be picked to finish near the bottom of the Big 12 standings. Neil Brown is very much on the hot seat, and yet they play Pitt and Penn State before they play you. So the reason I say it's going to be tricky is they could be like over to that point, and they may be playing for, and a coach may be coaching for his life at that point. And so, and then here you come in, whatever, with an opportunity. But again, it's just tricky. So anyway, I'll wrap up my thought there is that that's the first thing I thought of when I kind of started to process it all. I would have guessed 8. Maybe I would have been too high. Clearly I am by just a little bit. But the first thing I thought of was just the schedule, because that's why that win total is being placed at what it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think my word would be context, because we have learned this offseason that 7 wins, 8 wins, that number can feel very differently from one season to the next. So just assuming they do get into that territory, what's the context of that number actually going to signify as far as feelings for the fan base? And, the Mike Leach era is the one that really taught me as a college sports fan or observer, that unique in some ways, not specifically, but unique in some ways to college sports is the ability to amplify what your record is via beating opponents that your fan base really cares about. And there were some 7-5s or 8-4s or whatever, under Mike Leach that felt great because you're smacking the Aggies around or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, I get the numbers only a couple of games above 500 here, but you're beating some of these that you really care about beating at that time. Obviously, last season was an exercise in exactly that, Chris, as you beat opponents your fan base cares about in the Sooners and the Longhorns, beat another in-state opponent in Houston early in the season. I think those things matter. But there was another layer to that, Chris, to add more context to the 7 regular season wins, the 8 overall in year 1 for Joey McGuire, and that was the what have you done for me lately layer. Because when you finish not losing over the part of a month and a half, you win 4 straight, and one of those in a bowl setting against an SEC opponent. I mean, how are you not going to feel better about that 8 wins as opposed to like an 8-win total that came about as a result of winning 4 straight at the end, but you had Weber State and who gives a damn you in the last 2 weeks of the regular season? I mean, context is everything within college sports. I would say perception is everything, obviously, as you would think in reality, but specifically within college sports.
Well, think about it. What if you were 4-5 at that point? You won out. This is your context point. Let's just think about how we would be feeling right now had you been 8-1 at the time and then still finish with the same record of 8-5.
Yes, the Kingsbury approach. I think you were talking about the Kingsbury protocol there.
Which and at least that time, at least that one, they did win that final game. So at least you went into this offseason.
The bowl game, right?
Yeah, you beat up on Arizona State. Arizona State was ranked really high, and and all that
division
stuff.
champ that year.
That's right. So, so anyway, but yeah.
No, I think you're on the money there. It don't feel the same, right?
That's right. It just doesn't.
So kudos to Coach McGuire. Anybody else that can beat those opponents their fans really care about, but also finish strong, be better in November than in September. I don't know when I've thought that was the case. And certainly not consistently over the years, if ever, over the previous decade, that I feel like you really got better as the season went along, which is one indication, in my opinion, of a well-coached team. But I did feel that way last season for whatever it's worth. Let's stick with Texas Tech before we move along, Chris, but pivot in a way elsewhere on campus, because I don't know if we need to start with, rosier thoughts or more cautionary thoughts when we think of Texas Tech baseball and the baseball postseason. Do you have a word for that subject? Because I think that one has some vagary to it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I think for several years, it's just been assumed not only would Texas Tech baseball, Tim Tadlock's team, make the NCAA tournament, but it was which teams are we hosting? Which teams are coming to Lubbock? Kind of mentality, and rightfully so. And I think you're kind of in a weird spot right now where it's not like this particular year. It's not just a guarantee that you're a lock for the NCAA tournament, much less I don't think there's any chance to host NCAA tournament games here. I think that I don't care if you won out. I just think the numbers and the data are not on your side. So as it relates to your NCAA tournament chances, I'll give you 2 words, okay? But that's I didn't want to, but I'll tell you West Virginia, okay? And here's why. So you have an RPI that, based on your 2 wins over Abilene Christian, has improved to like 52. Okay, your league overall is not very high in the RPI. You only have 3 teams in the top 25, so it's not like boosting you, kind of like the basketball part was this past year, like as far as the data goes. So, but guess who's the highest team ranked in the RPI? It is West Virginia. Guess who you play this weekend? It is West Virginia. Your road record is kind of a sore spot as it relates to your RPI. Guess where these games are at this weekend? At West Virginia. So if you go win 2 of the 3, if you win that series, I guess I should say, I think you at that point have locked yourself in to getting a bid to the tournament. If you go get swept, though, I think this is going to get really interesting, and maybe interesting and not in a good way. Because again, your RPI is like at 52. It's not great. And so, yeah, you've won 34 games. You had a great, couple of wins over Abilene Christian. But anyway, so I'll cheat a bit and just, NCAA tournament chances hinge on West Virginia right now, because that's next opponent. These are road games and their RPI is the highest. So I'll go with that one.
No cheating when there are no rules. So you're in the clear there. No rules, just right. Outback Steakhouse stole that from us. That's still going through some court proceedings to see who the owner of that phrase is. I'm going to say another word with a question mark at the end of it. Okay, here we go. Ron Burgundy. Oh, that's the wrong prompter.
San Diego.
Here we go. Pressure? Because here's what I'm wondering, Chris. Is there no pressure because of the success you've had and the feeling that, we're Texas Tech, this is Tim Tadlock's team, we're going to get this done? Or is there an extreme amount of pressure because of that same statement? Are you, I don't want to say a victim of your own success, that's too dramatic, but you've set a standard, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I think some belief in your ability to win games, get to the postseason, be relevant nationally, either could, ease some pressure that another team might feel trying to do this in an atypical kind of situation, or maybe it, exponentially increases the pressure because of that standard and what your fan base, what your coach expects of you. I really don't know which way to go, but I might be inclined to lean more towards the latter, that it actually is going to add pressure to what you're doing in a season like this, when you're kind of just, you're on that line of in or out, like you were talking about the pressure that could come with, hey, we really want to host a regional or whatever that might be. That's one thing, but that's not exactly the pressure that I'm talking about. This is like, you're fighting for your postseason survival and things like that. And for this program, that's unusual. So I might lean more towards there is more pressure, as a matter of fact, as a result of your success as a program. But I could be wrong. How do you feel about that? You think there's more or less as a result of your standard?
And I don't think it is being dramatic when you said a while ago that you're a victim of your own success. I think you're very much there's a standard here, and the standard, Tim Tadlock will be the first one to tell you we're not lowering the bar. Okay, right. Each team needs to meet the expectation, and it's difficult in this sport. Like it is now with every sport, but I think Tim's situation is a bit different in that when the draft kind of really just kind of gets after your roster, and then you're trying to figure out certain things, you gotta have plans and backup plans and backup plans to the backup plan on, filling out a roster, and then sometimes you end up with more players than you have spots for, and it's just tricky year to year. And this is the way this sport was way before the portal or NIL or anything like that. But they are, I think, a victim of, is the fan base, are we spoiled? I don't know if that's true or not, but the standard, and it's what they've done. It was like, okay, we're at least we're at least contending for the conference championship and hosting these games, and then it's like, if we don't get to Omaha, it's a disappointment. But this year's been a little bit different. I think the pitching has struggled and all those things, but I'm sure that, they're probably feeling a little bit of pressure. You could just tell the sense of, maybe there was a sense of urgency with the way they approached the Abilene Christian game, and you're down 6-0 to kind of, start that resumed game. And then you put up an 8 or 9 spot in one inning. And then you end up, winning the second game. Those are key wins. And, you need all of them you can get. You've got 34 of them right now, but you need to get more. But I'm just telling you, man, that this series this weekend is going to be crucial to their postseason chances.
Yeah, looking forward to finding out what's going to be the result of that. And if you can just get in on the other side, kind of feel like you can reset and, begin a postseason march of sorts, because it's been a bit of a fist fight, no doubt about it, I think, as far as the regular season goes, and it's got to be taxing to a degree, and you throw in a little of that pressure. So I'm sure they're looking forward to maybe collecting some wins and shoring up a postseason resume. All right, we're back and wrapping it up with you. Coming up next as we are taking it Rocky Mountain High after this on Locked On Texas Tech. Always great to be with you. Thanks for making us a part of your day on Locked On Texas Tech. Whenever, wherever, however you're making it happen, we appreciate being your first listen every day on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts with Chris. I'm Casey, coming to you from west of the 100th Meridian, where it's really going down. Another great day in the great state. Wrapping up this Word Association Wednesday. La palabras. Excelente. With one from outside of our Red Raider or Texas Tech box here, Chris, as we're going to mention Colorado. And for those who only listen in, you don't see us on YouTube, you don't know that Chris Level's got a felt blacklight poster hanging on the wall behind him. So maybe you don't know what word he might associate with Colorado. Sativa, anyone? I'm not sure. That's why we ask. Chris, what's your reaction when you're thinking about, I don't know, the state or the university or the athletics department, anything Colorado related these days?
You could go a variety of different directions here. I wanted to discuss this for one direction, but they have clearly been in the news for a variety of different reasons with Dion and the football program. But I my word here is rumors. Okay. I think
going Fleetwood Mac on us.
Absolutely. Right. Yes. I think all this realignment discussion really for now 3 to 4 weeks. And there is on the record reporting that we've seen from some of the national folks about what networks are involved with the Big 12 and what networks are not. And there's been some discrepancies there. But if you go look at certain internet message boards amongst Big 12 or Pac-12 circles, there is a lot of speculation, and it has just not gone away from people that I think are somewhat connected, but nobody's been on the record and attached a name and said, this is who I've talked to here. But bottom line is the rumors will not go away about Colorado's, heavy interest in jumping ship. And here's where I wonder, are they willing to jump ship without even seeing what the Pac-12 would have for them as part of a Pac-12 deal? Or would they just say, we're tired of waiting. We don't think it's going to be anywhere near with the Big 12. The Big 12 has extended an offer, I would assume. And this is what we get. And so we're just going to, because people have suggested heavily that something was going to happen early this week. It hasn't at the time you and I are talking, or that it would be later this week or in the next week or so. But it all revolves around Colorado. And then you kind of hear a little bit lesser extent like Arizona and some of the others. But Colorado, and I can tell you this for a fact. I was told, a month ago, Colorado, and it was news to me at the time, and I think, Casey, we've actually talked about this a little bit, but Colorado was the one of the 4 corner schools. They were always the most interested. They've always been the most receptive. They've always been the most engaging. And it just never really was reported or portrayed as such. And I always looked at it and thought Colorado is the one that I would want to add the least. I don't know what they bring to you, but again, it's still a no-brainer add if they were to announce in the next day or 60 days, hey, we want to go back to our roots and be a Big 8/Big 12 member again, like we were previously. So anyway, my word is rumors because they just will not go away.
We're going R double here because mine is regret. I would have never ever guessed, really, that anyone that left the Big 12 would be spun around in the wash and spit back into the Big 12 at any point, a decade and a half ago when this began going down with Nebraska, the Aggies, Missouri, and Colorado. I did not anticipate that they would all find greener pastures. I knew Nebraska, good luck with that. Your fans are really going to love tailgating outside the stadium for a 3-9 year. And thinking about those Big 10 research dollars, that's really going to mean a lot to them. I'm sure, that's going to be terrific for the fan base. I didn't think it'd be all roses. Colorado already stunk, so whatever. Did we even care? And you kind of felt like, yeah, left coast weirdos, you'll fit in very, very well in the Pac-12 conference. But I never would have thought anybody's getting spit back into the Big 12. Of course, I did not anticipate at that time that there would be a Big 12 that did not feature the cancer that spit all of them out in the first place, that being the University of Texas, and can't wait for their pursuit of destroying their third consecutive conference, or at least trying to, in the SEC in some years to come. It's their biggest challenge yet. It's the most compelling rose ceremony ever. It's going to be awesome reality television. But regret. I wonder if Colorado does actually regret the move initially that now could result in them, coming back on down that Big 12 aisle, or if this is the way that it kind of had to be. I don't know if they felt like it was tenable to remain there. And I would, in the first place, in the Big 12 conference, but I would venture to guess, Chris, that while it wouldn't be the case in the original 12-team league, that they might have made less money in the Pac-12 over the years than they could have if they stayed as a member of a 10-team Big 12. Like if Texas Christian comes on board, West Virginia never does, or whatever scenario would lead you down that path. I wonder what their member institution payout would be comparatively to what they did get in the Pac-12 conference over this time, because that is one of the greatest things the Big 12 has had going for it. And that is what I feel like is the most important thing and the thing that gets least reported nationally. Member institution payouts. Your sum total was never as big as others, and people are like, oh, look, you're not even as big as the Pac-12 or the ACC. Buddy, we got 10 members. So these 10 are cashing bigger checks than they've ever cashed before. So it was working out pretty well. And I wonder what those dollars would actually look like between what they did get, what they could have gotten if they remained in a smaller Big 12. I know that's just all, pie in the sky type of conversation because it didn't go down that way. But I don't know. I don't know they'd ever admit it, but I wonder if there is regret for ever making the move in the first place.
I mean, I think if they were to jump back, I think that's the jumps to the front of the line. Like, okay, yeah, we're going to undo a decision that we made years and years ago, and like this is just we thought it was better, but grass wasn't greener. It's ran its course, and we're back in the fold here. Yeah,
can you believe it? Did you ever guess any of these get spit back in? I mean,
I'd be willing to bet that they'll never do it, but I'd be willing to bet to you that everything other than the money component, Nebraska has a lot of regret too. Now, especially maybe the Texas is about to depart. That's always stuck in their craw, but competitive geography, recruiting, on-field success in all sports. But they just can't turn down that paycheck. That paycheck is just astronomical compared to what everybody else is getting. So that's what is the ultimate trump card in that conversation. But I'd be willing to bet, like you said, I mean, they've just been a disaster for a decade plus and just irrelevant. But and I think Missouri probably is that way. It's just there's some of these are weird fits, I guess. But I guess there's no such thing as a weird fit when you've got Central Florida in the Big 12 and West Virginia in the Big 12 and BYU in the Big 12 and on it goes. So, I mean, there's no such thing as real fit. But But yeah, I mean, Colorado being back would certainly be interesting. But I think they probably have felt like they missed it years and years ago, and felt like they wanted to do what Nebraska did, and it just hasn't been the case. But without UCLA and USC, it kind of defeats the purpose of being in the Pac-12 from Colorado's standpoint.
Yeah, come on back down. Take that walk of shame. You forgot an earring in the house when you left that Saturday morning, honey. We apologize, but we'll try not to laugh too much. Welcome back to the family. Hope to welcome you back tomorrow right here on Locked On Texas Tech. Thank you. If you're an everydayer out there making this your first listen on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts, appreciate it greatly. Chris, looking forward to doing it once again with you tomorrow. Thanks for the time. As always, man, enjoyed it.
Back at you, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and keep hope alive, everybody.
You got it. Subscribe on YouTube if you haven't so far, so you never miss an episode. For Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. We'll see you for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.